Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, all protocols observed. Peace and well-being to you all. Welcome to the 2026 webinar series. I'm Stella Mbugwa. I'll be your moderator for today. And we have a team that's here virtually, but also physically. I will share the introduction to the webinar series this year. The ECD Network for Kenya is a membership organization established 2016, registered with the NGOs Coordination Board here in Kenya to coordinate early childhood initiatives in Kenya. The secretariat of the network is hosted at the Department of Early Childhood and Special Needs Education at Kenyatta University. A little about the mandate is to strengthen coordination, collaboration, and collective advocacy, and today is part of that, within the early childhood development sector. And we launched the network. As part of the network, we launched a webinar series from 2024 all the way through to now, and we are back. This series provides a structured platform for evidence sharing. We really love evidence. Disseminating of best practices, because there's a lot that happens and is not spotlighted for many. There's policy dialogue because the issues that we address are contextual, and there's usually a policy that supports what we do, and reflection on progress made in advancing early childhood development in Kenya. The webinars have been convening everyone who is interested in the work that we do, but I would like to particularly spotlight the government actors, both at national and county, sometimes beyond borders, civil society, development partners, academics, philanthropists, practitioners, caregivers, among others, to unite voices and catalyze action towards ensuring that every child or young person receives the best possible start in life. And this is not the work of just governments or parents, it's a whole of government and a whole of society approach. So it's not easy work, but we do the best we can. A little about our context is that our country, Kenya, has made significant strides to strengthen frameworks for the subject matter, early childhood development, particularly with the devolution and county level responsibility. Within national and county development frameworks, expanded access to pre-primary education across the counties, the 47 counties, growing multisectoral collaboration in health, nutrition, education, child protection, and this sometimes goes beyond these spaces because of the nature of the work we do. Enhanced advocacy for financing and inclusion in public budgeting processes. Despite the gains, we have continued to face myriad challenges, particularly related to financing models and support towards the efforts and the background of the work that we do, which is a lot. But the network strives to be contextualized as much as possible. We have a webinar theme and objectives, and we are partnering with KMET and the Lake Region Economic Bloc to convene this webinar series and focusing on governance, finance, accountability in the subject matter. Examining ECD financing, multisectoral collaboration, planning, accountability mechanisms at both national and county levels. Today's session, as I had mentioned earlier, is hybrid, and the primary objectives are to reflect, to promote, and facilitate and document knowledge exchange among us. The expected outcomes are that by the end of the webinar, which is the first in 2026, we expect that everyone will have an improved sharing understanding of the subject matter, have an understanding of existing support mechanisms and even the constraints faced, enhance multi-sector collaboration, which is quite a task, and then documenting of the knowledge for purposes of policy and advocacy. Our target audience has been diverse, and we can boast of the fact that we have involved everyone as much as possible over the years. And we have strived to work multisectorally, cross-sectorally in some contexts, and it's been amazing work at both individual, as a group, and outside that framework. So I invite all of you to get excited about what we have planned for today and the discussions. Ask as many questions so that by the time we leave, we have a common understanding of where we are going, and ultimately where we should be, so that others can learn from us. But ultimately, we want we want a momentum, and we've been trying to do that. Build a momentum towards long-term sustainable investment in early childhood development. Thank you so much for listening, and I would like to now, for next steps, I would like to invite the next steps.
Just a round of applause to Stella as she started us off, so that we break the monotony. We look so dull, huh? No, it's an early morning. So thank you so much for the introduction. And our team, we are getting to the next step. And in this particular step, or this particular juncture, we are going to welcome Oscar Kadenge. And Oscar Kadenge is the board chair of ECDNeK, Kenya. And Oscar is an early childhood development specialist. Is the head of the early child development program. Is a recognized champion and a subject matter specialist in nurturing care for early childhood development. Is an alumnus of prestigious Harvard University. And we call it Harvard Kennedy School of Government, with a bias of scaling up for nurturing care for ECD in the low middle income countries. So he's a seasoned speaker. We've had him for a very long time, and a member of global and government technical working groups championing nurturing care. And without going further and just diluting this particular beautiful profile and bio, allow me to welcome Oscar Kadingi on stage. Thank you so much, Oscar.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abella. It's a pleasure to see how much you have grown over the years, and so excited for you. Good morning, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, and those that I would want to call tireless champions of early childhood development seated within this room and without. On behalf of the ECD network of Kenya, it is my distinct honor to welcome you to this critical dialogue on governance, finance, and accountability in early childhood development. Whether you are here with us in the vibrant city of Kisumu or joining us virtually from across the globe, your presence signals a shared realization. The future of Kenya is being shaped right now. Today, we aren't just discussing a line item in our budgets, we are discussing the architecture of the Kenyan brain. And I'd like that to sink in. Today, we aren't just discussing a line item in our budgets. We are discussing the architecture of the Kenyan brain. Science tells us that 90% of brain development happens before a child's 5th birthday. And if we fail in these early years, we spend the rest of our lives trying to fix what we should have built. A case in point is what is happening in Nairobi at the moment. If the foundation was right, we wouldn't be where we are. The urgency of our mission. Since our formal registration in 2019, the ECD network for Kenya has served as the connective tissue for a multisectoral movement in the country. Our vision remains a Kenya where every child receives holistic support. However, as we meet today in 2026, the data provides a sobering reality check on the state of ECD in Kenya. Around the area of poverty and deprivation, the recent study on Brighter Futures by UNICEF and the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics tells us that approximately 55.3% of children in Kenya remain multidimensionally poor. Alarmingly, 11 million children aged 0 to 8 years are deprived of at least 3 essential services, particularly in water, sanitation, and nutrition. There is an investment gap also. Despite ECD being the bedrock of human capital, public financing remains disproportionately low, accounting for only 0.9% of total government spending, which is roughly 0.4% of the GDP of the country, way below the 1% that globally is expected of us. Learning outcomes, if you look at that space also, recent data shows a dip in foundational literacy and numeracy, with only 54.2% of grade 3 learners reaching minimum proficiency in numeracy, down from nearly 69% in 2019. What is happening since devolution? This is a study that was recently released by the Usawa Agenda, together with our friends at Zizi Africa. Under the strategic pillars of governance and finance, there's also something we need to say. Today's theme is not just an academic exercise. It is a roadmap for systemic reform. To move the needle, we must address these 3 pillars. Strengthening governance is the first. We are seeing progress in the devolved units, which is good. For instance, counties like Bomet and Siaya have prioritized ECD coordination and infrastructure in their latest fiscal strategy papers, which we have seen. And they're focusing on on-source revenue to offset national budget gaps. However, governance needs more or requires more than policy. It requires coordinated data collection too. We must leverage the latest advancements in data governance to ensure that ECD data is used ethically and effectively to track child outcomes, because that's what is important. Not just numbers, but to track outcomes. Number two, innovative and sustainable financing. While the national education budget, sector budget received a historic 701 billion in the financial year 2025-2026 budget, the majority is directed towards primary and tertiary levels. Recent analysis undertaken by different actors in the country show while the national equitable share provides what we call notional allocations for other county services. Here, for other county services, the controller of budgets was talking about it. Other county services, actual investment in ECD remains below 2% of education budgets, far from the international recommendation of 10%. For ECD to thrive, we must advocate a shift towards the East and Southern Africa average of 130 nearing school feeding programs, for instance, and infrastructure expansion, despite tight fiscal ceilings advance, as evidenced by the shifts being piloted here in Kisumu and also in Siaya County towards using conditional grants for specialized ECD, health services, and school feeding programs. Those kind of counties are the ones that need to be given as, can do to make sure that resources reach out. Counter transparency, which is the accountability should remain as to actually just say. We must move beyond cash-based tracking to a results-based framework where every shilling spent is tied to a child's health, nutrition, or learning milestone. We move away from what we have been doing, the cash-based tracking, where you are talking about 10 million or 10 billion or whatever it is has been given towards the early years, to actually looking at results-based frameworks where every shilling is tied to either the child's health, nutrition, learning, or other milestone that we are tracking. As I conclude, I would like to talk about the power of partnership. I want to express our deepest gratitude to KMET, our valued partner for this webinar. Your decades of work in maternal and child health are a testament to what is possible when community-led programs meet systemic advocacy. I've been part of the journey of seeing KMET become a leader in this space, right from way back in 2012, 2013. And I've seen the journey that KMET has undertaken in making itself a big advocate for children. Together with the Lake Region Economic Bloc, we're actually proving that regional cooperation is the key to scaling the nurturing care agenda. My call to action is we engage in today's sessions. I encourage you to be bold. Do not just share what is working, share what is not, so that we can actually find solutions to this. The knowledge exchange here will directly inform our policy and advocacy for the remainder of the 2024 to 2026 series, which is what we are running right now in terms of the webinars that the ECDNeK for Kenya has been undertaking. As I conclude, I also would like to encourage us as actors in the space to become members of the network, recognizing that by being members of the network, you are creating a platform for us to be able to actually give voice, as Stella mentioned earlier, to the issues of children who may not be able to sit in rooms like this. I want to thank you because I know that as we commit to be changing the beginning of the story for every Kenyan child, we are going to change the rest of the story for them. And that will give us the foundation we need to be able to build Kenya will be free of what we see today. Thank you.
A big applause to Oscar. Remember, he's from Harvard Kennedy School of Government, so he needs a better clap. Thank you so much. We really need to take note of what he's saying, that we need to really bank on a result-based frameworks just to ensure that we have focused attention to our children. And he's talked about so many things that I'm very sure that we picked up, even including data that is very important, issues around budgeting that Kenya is taking up. Some of the changes Kenya has already picked up in terms of focusing on the children. So, and also sharing that other counties are taking this up and are doing much better. And this is why we are gathered here today, just to pick up some of these best practices and be able to replicate them in our counties. So we really need to take note of that in terms of even public sector accounting standards that he has mentioned, to ensure that we support our children in the diverse areas we work in. At this particular point, allow me to welcome the next speaker to give us her remarks. And this is none other than Dr. Monica Ogutu, who is the Executive Director of Kisumu Medical and Education Trust. And KMET is an organization that is locally based, but with a focused implementation in 44 of the 47 counties. Monica Ogutu is a renowned public health specialist and our alumnus. That is Oscar Kadenge is your fellow classmate. She's also an alumnus of Harvard School of Government. And she's also known for her ability to promote collaboration among government officials, private and public health sectors, and communities to achieve better results. So she's been a member of various technical working groups, just the same way as Oscar has also been a good member of other technical working groups, championing matters nurturing care and ensuring that the children that we are working on and giving birth to achieve the best developmental potential. Welcome, Dr. Monica Ogutu from KMET. A round of applause to her.
Thank you, Abela. Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. Actually, this is our first meeting this year as a network. So I would really want to appreciate ECDNeK and LREB for this well-thought webinar to come early in the year as we reflect in the theme that has been shared today. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking you all for prioritizing this meeting, because at times when people are talking about children, people wonder, why should I be in that room talking about a child? I need to talk about big things, maybe infrastructure, maybe the floods that are all over the country. Here we are seated in a room talking about the children. So LREB, Secretariat, thank you so much for taking the lead, because whatever we have been doing is LREB driven. I would like also to thank all the governors in their absence, because they have journeyed with us in this journey. It has been a sweet journey in LREB. And I would like to just tell you that LREB is a model block that all the other blocks need to learn from. Your presence speaks volume today. It tells me that we share not only a common vision, but also a deep commitment to the future of our nation. And we know that the future begins at the very start of life. Having been in that space for a long time, I always tell people, if you don't deliver a baby that has scored well at birth, then you know you have a problem the entire journey of that baby. It starts from the uterus. It starts from the antenatal care. How is this pregnancy nurtured? What was the score of the baby at birth? For the people in the room with children, I hope you have been checking the mother and baby booklet to know what your baby scored at birth. As we look at the academic score, there's also the score at birth. And the score is always over 10. So check if your baby maybe scored 3/10 or 2/10, resuscitated, you went with the baby home, that baby needs special care at that stage, the first 1,000 days of life. Just giving you tips so that you don't wait for a late stage and start pushing the baby to the best academy and complaining that the babies are not doing, the teachers are not doing the right thing. We need to start looking at the journey of this baby earliest from the uterus, and we need everybody involved. And that is why to begin with, the Nurturing Care for Early Childhood Development program addresses one of the most critical stages in human life. For me, that is where we need to invest most. Young children's health development depends on the nurturing care. The care that ensures good health, adequate nutrition, responsive caregiving, safety and security, and opportunities for early learning. The success of these initiatives depends on how well we organize ourselves. Are we organized in terms of the structures, in terms of the financing, and how are we holding ourselves accountable for delivering services to young children and their caregivers? And we need to look at all children, including children with special needs. Sometimes we forget the other children, the children locked behind doors. They are quite a number. When we started this journey, we realized that there are so many children that we don't see in some spaces. They're not even brought to the to the child welfare clinic. They are locked somewhere because of the stigma around a disabled child. First, let's look at the governance, because we are focusing on the theme of today. Governance is the backbone of effective early childhood development system. It requires strong leadership. And I tell everybody, if we don't have strong leadership in whatever we are doing, we will fail. We need clear policies. We need structured coordination across multiple sectors. And Nurturing Care for Early Childhood Development has confirmed it, that we need all the sectors. I think there are 10 sectors, and there is no sector that we have left behind. Every sector has a role to play. This is from nutrition, from health, education, child protection, finance, agriculture, name it, roads. We need everybody. Water, because in those maternities, we also need water to ensure that there is a safe delivery. We also need to have everybody understand their role. No single sector, it's already mentioned earlier, can address the complex needs of our young children. This is why multisectoral collaboration, bringing together government departments, development partners, civil society, and all communities is critical in this journey. When governance structures are well established, they actually create clarity on roles, promote coordination, and ensure that policies translate into services that reach every child and families everywhere. Whether you are in the remotest part of Kenya, we need to be able to reach you. This progress has been realized, has been demonstrated in LREB, political goodwill secured. This is the first time we saw governors in a classroom. They all came for a training. We trained the county leadership on the science of ECD, showing that there has been commitment to advancing this agenda. There is routine engagement with implementing partners in this region and beyond. And this has really strengthened our collaboration, fostering synergy and preventing silo kind of work. For a long time, there was a lot of siloing. But with Nurturing Care, you can see we are all partners in one room. We said no to silo work because we can use the available resources to achieve more. Currently, 10 LREB counties have already anchored multisectoral teams. And we can demonstrate and document that multisectoral approach is the way to go. Secondly, equally important is financing. Commitments to early childhood development must be matched with sustainable and predictable investment. It's not all about just talking. We need to see that investment. There is need to prioritize ECD within national and county budgets, while also exploring innovative financing, as already mentioned by Mr. Kadenge. We need to explore those innovative financing mechanisms, partnerships, and efficient use of the available resources that we have. We need to be very sure that whatever little we have, we can optimize that resource. Financing should not only support infrastructure. We have seen people thinking that when we have buildings, we have roads, that is when we are now having investment. We must invest in brains. If we cannot have brains, who will use those roads? Who will use those buildings? We need to have people that will take over from us. But also we need to strengthen frontline systems like health workers. I've talked about safe delivery. We have talked about ensuring that our babies score well at birth. We need to have communities empowered and also ensuring that our education system from early childhood down is well structured. Caregiver support mechanism, and this time around, we are really emphasizing male involvement. When we were being brought up, it was always a mother with a baby in the clinic. Yesterday, I was in Lumumba, and I was impressed to see men with their babies in the child welfare clinic. It is a role for everybody. We need to be part and parcel of this journey. And this progress has been realized through counties incorporating all the elements of nurturing care for early childhood development within their county integrated development plans, positioning it as a strategic investment. For example, Sia County. I hope Sia is in the room, Sia or online. Sia County has institutionalized nurturing care for early childhood development as a program within the governor's office. While Kakamega County has also adopted it as a flagship project, among other similar county commitments. And those are just a few examples. We know Nyamira is ahead with their nutrition program, and all these counties in LREB can actually write their experience. Finally, accountability is what transforms commitment into real impact. Strong monitoring system, reliable data, and regular review processes allow us to track progress and identify the gaps that we need to focus on and continuously improve implementation. That is what we have done, starting with one county, Siaya, documenting it, learning from that, and then using it to scale up through a phased approach. When systems are accountable, they ensure that every resource invested translates into meaningful outcomes for children and families, making it a norm to document our best practices. And I'll request all counties, please let's document our best practices, because what is not documented is not done. We need evidence that this is actually working for us and anchoring data within the government system for informed decision making. So as we begin this discussion and we continue with the deliberations, remember that strengthening governance, financing, and accountability is not simply a technical exercise. It is a commitment to the future of our children of this nation. By working together across all the sectors and institutions, we can build systems that ensure that every child has the opportunity not only to survive, but to thrive and reach their full potential. Some of the children have just survived. and they are there. But we want children to survive and thrive to reach their full potential. Lastly, I would like to again reaffirm our commitment. KMET is in partnership with LREB Secretariat, anchored within county government structures, has been implementing Nurturing Care for Early Childhood Development initiative. The program initially began in CIM and has since been scaled up to other 10 counties. We are going to complete the 14 counties by next year, this year actually. By this year, we have already confirmed that. And this is through what was dubbed as a Smart Start initiative using a phased approach. The initiative is county-led, LREB-driven, and partner-supported. Also partners coming together and planning together, implementing and reviewing together. We are already witnessing encouraging progress. We have seen partners coming even from Mozambique to learn from us in LREB. So we are very proud of what we are doing. And we know with the leadership commitment, this is going to be another model in Kenya, if not in the region. And as an organization, we remain committed to supporting these ongoing initiatives and amplifying them through available platforms. We will continue working together, documenting all the best practices with the counties and promoting learning and replication across counties to ensure the sustainability and scale of our intervention. Thank you so much, and may God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Monica. Better clap. She's mentioned a lot. I may not share that so much, but then to stress on is the way to work together. We need to work together as a team, as partners, as counties, but then more to this is a county leading these processes. And she's also mentioned us getting to know how our baby scored. I don't know whether you know how your baby scored. So you need to go back. It is a homework, or nowadays it's called home fun. So you need to go and do that particular home fun and see how your baby scored. Thank you so much, Daktari. And at this particular time, just to keep on so that we don't waste much time, let me welcome. It's always hard to welcome a professor, because if you look at the profile, you get stuck. So I'm going to welcome Professor Teresa Mwoma. And Teresa Mwoma is an associate fellow in May, professor in the Department of Early Childhood and Special Needs Education in Kenyatta University. She's seconded to the African Council for Distance Education as Executive Director, coordinating open distance and e-learning in Africa for ECDNeK member institutions. Professor Mwoma is the first African woman to be appointed as Executive Director in a male-dominated ECDNeK. As the fourth Executive Director, she's the founder and national coordinator of ECD Network for Kenya. Before joining ECD, Professor Mwoma was managing higher education in emergencies for refugees in Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps in Kenya as a coordinator, Kenyatta University, Dadaab Center. Previously development, Kenyatta University, coordinating capacity development initiative for various governmental and non-governmental organizations in Kenya. Professor has mentored over 40 graduate students who have graduated with their masters and PhDs in early childhood studies. You would join that university. I'm an alumni of Kenyatta University, so I feel so proud of her. So she has a very long profile, and she's a researcher in the University of Johannesburg. With a wide experience in research and consultancy. She holds a PhD in early childhood studies from education and care in childhood from University of Johannesburg, South Africa. She was a visiting scholar to University of Agda, where she facilitated seminars for faculty and graduate students in February 2020. And besides that, Professor Moma is the Kenya Country Coordinator for the European Early Childhood Education Research Association since 2015 to date. He has conducted over 20 studies focusing on early childhood. Her research interests focus on nurturing care in early child development, policy, the girl child, capacity building, adolescent mothers, and orphans and vulnerable children, as well as open distance and e-learning. It's a mouthful. She has that wide of experience. Allow me to welcome her to give us her remarks. Asante sana, Professor, as you come.
Thank you. Sorry. I didn't know who prepared that, that bio. Thank you so much. Distinguished participants, colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Allow me first to take this opportunity to thank those people who have played a critical role to ensure that today we are here, including KMET, the Lake Region Economic Bloc Secretariat, the organizing committee, also to you participants from the different counties and those who are joining us online from our country and also from outside. It is a great pleasure and honor to join you today as we reflect on strengthening governance, financing, and accountability for childhood development in Kenya. Investing, as early speakers have said, investing in young children is not only a moral responsibility, but also the most strategic investment a country can make for its future. The early years of a child's life, from conception, as Monica has rightfully put it, to about 8 years, are a period of rapid brain development when the foundation of lifelong learning, health, and productivity is established. Today, we will keep hearing this over and over because this is a critical stage. When children receive the right support through quality early learning, healthcare, nutrition, responsive caregiving, and protection, they are more likely to succeed in school and grow into productive members of society. For a country like Kenya, with a youthful population, investing in early childhood development is essential for building the human capital needed to drive sustainability, sustainable development. Indeed, as a former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon once said, the best way to break the cycle of poverty is to invest in the early years of a child's life. Similarly, the Nobel laureate economist James Heckman reminds us that the best way to improve the efficiency of the workforce is to invest in the early years of children. The clear evidence supporting childhood investments, recent findings indicate that ECD remains underfunded, and that has been said by clear speakers. ECDNeK, we conducted a study in collaboration with Mathematica, which is a US-based research organization, and the study was funded by Conrad Hilton Foundation. We examined the county budgets between 2020 and 2025. The study found that across the 47 counties, the average allocation for early childhood education accounted for 34% of the devolved education budget. That is the two functions that have been developed. That's what we were looking at. And I'm sure when the chair, Oscar, was speaking, he talked of 0.9%. So we were looking at the devolved function and how early childhood is budgeted. With the budget absorption ranging between 65 and 72%. This indicates that even where resources are allocated, they are not always fully utilized. The study also examined financing for primary health care, which plays a critical role in supporting child survival and development. Budget allocation for primary health care ranged between 11% and 16% during the 4 years we were studying, with an average absorption of 72%. Some of factors were highlighted to have contributed to these gaps between allocation and expenditure, which include delayed disbursement of funds, limited prioritization of ECD in county budgets, and the reallocation of funds during the supplementary budget. Such that if reallocation has to happen, the quick and easy place to get the funds from is the funds that are allocated for early childhood. We also learned that even when they budget this 34%, it is not automatic that the 35% will be funded fully. So that is also another area. These findings raise an important policy question for all of us. What mechanisms should be put in place to ensure there is a clear, sustainable framework that guides financing for childhood development in Kenya? Strengthening financing systems will be essential to ensure that resources allocated for ECD are protected, predictable, and effectively utilized. Another critical issue relates to multisectoral coordination, which has also been mentioned. Childhood development is inherently multisectoral because children's well-being depends on services delivered across sectors, including education, health, nutrition, water and sanitation, social protection, and child protection. Kenya's devolved systems of governance presents counties with an opportunity to deliver integrated services that responds to the needs of their communities. However, findings from our study, the ECD systems revealed that many counties heavily rely on donor funding to support multisectoral coordination mechanisms. While development partners have played an important role in strengthening ECD systems, this reliance raises sustainability concerns. It can lead to donor fatigue and delays in policy implementation when external funding cycles change. Additionally, some counties lack clear coordination frameworks to guide collaboration across sectors, which can result in fragmented service delivery. This, therefore, raises another important question. What measures should county governments put in place to ensure efficient and sustainable multisectoral coordination for early childhood development? Strengthening governance systems will require counties to institutionalize coordination structures, allocate dedicated budget lines for coordination activities, and strengthen joint planning and budgeting processes across departments. That has been highlighted by earlier speakers. Finally, let me highlight the importance of data in informing decision-making. Data plays a critical role in helping governments understand the status of children, identify service gaps, and allocate resources where they are most needed. Evidence-based decision-making strengthens accountability, improves efficiency, and ensures that policies and programs are responsive to the needs of children and families. However, from our study, it was revealed that several challenges related to ECD data systems, including fragmented data systems across sectors, lack of integration between database, reporting delays, limited accessibility of data, and technological constraints. These gaps make it difficult to obtain comprehensive and timely picture of children's well-being across the sectors. This, therefore, raises another critical question. How do we centralize and integrate data systems to mitigate the gaps and support evidence-based decision-making? Addressing this challenge will require strengthening interoperability between sectoral data systems, investing in technological infrastructure, building the capacity of national and county teams to collect, analyze, and utilize data effectively. In conclusion, strengthening early childhood development in Kenya requires sustained commitment to improve financing, from the ECD systems study reminds us that while progress has been made, important gaps remain. Addressing these gaps will require collaboration among national and county governments, development partners, civil society organizations, researchers, and communities. If we strengthen financing frameworks, institutionalize multisectoral coordination, and invest in integrated data systems, we will build a stronger foundation for the healthy development and learning of Kenya's youngest citizens. Ultimately, investing in early childhood development is investing in the future of our country and ensuring that every child has the opportunity to grow, learn, and thrive. Thank you.
I think the clap is not adequate for our professor, so we can do better. Thank you. Allow me, before I welcome the next speaker, just to recognize in the house our county secretary from Bomet, Sante Sana kwa kuja, all the way from Bomet. We love that spirit. And then the CCMs across the counties that are here in the house, we recognize your presence. Directors across the counties, we recognize your presence too. Multisectoral team members that are also made themselves available for this session, we also recognize your presence. The LREB Secretariat team, thank you for always being here and supporting. Our partners that also joined physically, we also recognize your presence. Thank you so much for coming. Our professor has mentioned a lot that I know we were taking notes in terms of looking at how counties should invest, and so that we came out of donor dependency syndrome and ensure that there's sustainability and posterity in all that we are putting across as an investment for our children, and ensuring that we have evidence-based decision-making by working through also doing our researches, getting our data right to ensure that we support based on evidence. So thank you so much, Prof. And also looking at how do we have stronger partnership between the national government and also the county government. And we'll have a presentation from the COG in terms of how we can coordinate that. At this particular point, we might be chased away from this particular room if we don't hear his voice from the Lake Region Economic Bloc, our CEO, We are having in the house Dr. Victor Nyagaya, the Chief Executive Officer at the Lake Region Economic Bloc. He is the CEO of this region, and this bloc that brings cooperation and brings 14 counties together in the Western Kenya, and also looking at other counties like KMET. Also, we have Trans Nzoia coming into play. Nandi is also part of the bloc. So in his role, he leads the bloc secretariat and coordinates strategic initiatives aimed at accelerating economic transformation across the Lake Basin region. Dr. Nyagaya oversees partnerships between the county governments, and whenever he makes a call to a governor, they all listen. And development partners and the private sector to unlock investment opportunities in key sectors such as agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, infrastructure, and the blue economy, which Homa Bay is really championing. It has been instrumental in advancing regional integration, strengthening PPP, that is the public-private partnerships, and positioning the Lake region as an attractive destination for local and international investors. So under his leadership, LREB continues to promote collaborative economic planning and resource mobilization to improve livelihoods for the more than 14 million people living within the bloc. So we thank you so much for honoring this invitation and being in our midst, and we welcome you to make your remarks and open this session officially. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Abella. First and foremost, before I proceed, I want to correct Abella, because in this webinar, we have governors listening, and they wonder that there's one individual who can make a call to them and they listen. You are jeopardizing my job. So that is not true. We have various ways of communicating to our governors. And thank you so much and welcome to this session. First and foremost, the chair of the bloc was meant to be here, but I believe he's proceeding somewhere and it must be listening to us. For unavoidable circumstances, he had to travel, but he's represented here ably with his Minister for Education. And I'm happy that I've seen the people we have been championing this cause all here today, because I remember we're in Dar es Salaam with Waziri, Professor, with my brother Kadenge, quite a number of people I'm seeing here. This means that we are committed to what we do, and we are what I would call resilient to what we are pursuing. And this is good because it means that the word continues. I would wish to be very brief. I'm not usually good at written speeches, but I'll do read for record's sake so that it goes into our data, because we had a professor here who emphasized a lot on data, and the data is very critical lately. In fact, in this journey, you are doing zero if you don't put data ahead of each and everything that you do, because then data speaks for what you're doing. If you don't have it, then the amount of stories you're just talking, you are just talking to people, but there's no data. And I'll go straight to it. What I have here today is on leadership, governance, and financing for early childhood development. Good morning, colleagues and partners, and also welcome to Kisumu County and to the Lake Region Economic Bloc. For those who have not been here, please feel at home. And those who are coming to Kisumu for the first time, and I doubt it, please have your time later and look around and visit Kisumu. I'm sure you must be impressed with the level of cleanliness. And do I say, I'm pleased to join this collaborative webinar, bringing together county governments, development partners, and implementing organizations who are all committed to strengthening early childhood development across our region. Early childhood development is one of the most strategic investments we can make in building strong communities and a resilient regional economy. The early years shape a child's health, learning ability, and future productivity. When we invest in ECD, we are investing in the human capital that will drive the long-term growth of the lake region. Investing, this one is critical, and I think Brother Kadenge emphasized a lot on it, and I would want to revisit it later because both at government level, national and regional, and individuals who are seated here, that word investment cuts across, and it touches from you going all the way to the national government. What amount of investment are you putting on your own family and on your own case before you talk about it at the regional level? Before you actually educate our people who control budgets, money, and invest in the general childhood ECD programs and to the national government. So what is your contribution to your family? What are you investing? Or you are just propagating, championing, or are you doing what they call, those who I think in church, they say, don't do what I do what I tell you. Because we don't know what you do. But we are interested in knowing what you do in terms of investment in your own capacity to your family and your children. First, leadership is critical. County governments play a central role in championing ECD within their development agendas. When leaders prioritize early learning, nutrition, child protection, and health services for young children, it sends a clear message that the well-being of our youngest citizens is fundamental to sustainable development. Second, governance and coordination are equally important. ECD is inherently multisectoral, requiring strong collaboration across departments such as health, education, social protection, and planning. Effective governance ensures that these sectors work together, policies are aligned, and services reach children and families in a coordinated and efficient way. Third, sustainable financing is essential to translate community commitments into real impact. Counties must continue to strengthen budget, allocation, and planning for ECD while leveraging partnerships with the national government and development partners. Transparent financial management and clear tracking of ECD investments will help ensure that resources achieve the greatest possible outcomes for children. This is where the Lake Region Economic Bloc plays an important role. As a regional platform that brings counties together, LREB is well positioned to strengthen coordination of ECD implementation by one, facilitating collaboration and policy alignment across counties, supporting peer learning, and sharing of best practices in ECD programs. Two, three, promoting regional advocacy for increased investment in early childhood services. And four, strengthening partnerships with implementing partners, civil society, and development agencies. Then last but not least, five, encouraging data sharing and accountability mechanisms to track ECD progress. Webinars like these are valuable spaces for dialogue, learning, and partnership. By bringing together policymakers, practitioners, and partners, we can identify practical ways to strengthen systems and scale effective ECD interventions across the Lake region. I therefore encourage all of us to use this platform to exchange ideas, share lessons, and explore opportunities for deeper collaboration. Together, we can ensure that every child in our region has the opportunity to survive, thrive, and reach their full potential. Before I conclude, I need to say one or two things, and I hope it won't be a repetition. I think earlier on, Dr. Monica here did talk to you and mentioned that a while ago we had an opportunity to have many governors attending an educative session, a very serious educative session. And I keep thinking of about how they enjoyed the session. It was a very good session of learning. I mean, it's very interesting that you can have governors seated patiently for 2 days, listening to what you have to tell them about early childhood. And in fact, I need to let you know that by the time they left Mombasa, that's where we had this training session held deliberately, because as governors, for example, if you brought them here, 14 of them, Acacia would be a different story. So you won't have any concentration. So we thought we needed to relocate them away and then have the full pension gotten from them. And indeed, I meet them differently. And they say, man, you really made us know that we actually must put money in the early childhood education system. But you also told us something that we don't understand, that child's power, brain development is effective within the first 1,000 days. And that brings me to say what Kadenge said earlier, that I think it was Kadenge or Dr. Monica, that we survive if you don't put serious investment in that child, then that child is just going to survive. And I'm not wrong to say that most of us survive. So you find that my brother, Professor Kadenge, survived his way to Harvard, because you are going to meet people who went through this process. But you have arrived there. How, you don't know, but you are there, competing with them. So now I don't think we really need to go back to that space of survival. We are now empowered. We are now equipped. We now know that we can put our young people at that same pedestal that is taking place in New York, South Korea, wherever. We want to create a platform for them to equally compete because of the investment that we have in them. It has woken us up that, like Dr. was saying, you wake up when your child is supposed to go to Form 1, and you have so much money that you've made in between. And therefore, you want this child to go to an academy, but you don't realize the money that you have should have been more effective in the first 1,000 years than to be in the academy. I'll give you a small story, very short. I was working in Nairobi, and my neighbor, a very senior lady, no mention of names, we were very close with my wife. And every time she came, there would be fish. So, and then there's this story out there that, Luos are brilliant because they eat a lot of fish. So, poor lady took it literally. When the child was going to do his class 8, he put his child on a diet for 3 months on fish. the boy was just eating fish every day. Then he went and did exams. Then the boy flopped. Then he said, what's wrong with this young man? I'm told fish develops brain. And I've been putting him on a diet for 3 months. Then he comes here with 0 returns. So instead of laughing at her, I just told her, look, it's not 3 months. This is something you start from birth. As soon as the child is born, we do, because it develops in the system. It's not something you just take for 3 months, send the child, do exam, bring me results. So you see, the child has been surviving. So I think we need to get really what we are talking about and implement it. Help our friends, help our neighbors, and push it in the government agenda. We in the bloc have done tremendously good. I think we are already, and in fact, for us to have the governors, we also had the first ladies, so that this conversation is not just at the policy level, it is at the dining table of our governors and their spouses. It is a conversation that begins from that dining table to the national level through regional governments. So I think I don't want to say much, but that is indeed what we stand for. I want to thank Waziri from Siaya. I'm happy you are here. We spoke with the governor and he told me that he will be represented. I'm glad you're here already. So thank you so much. Madam said here very clearly, I want to just reconfirm to you that we work in harmony. So sometimes I have to plead with those governors, not a phone call away. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Daktari. And we are happy to always have you and see you around, because your support has been so great, and we've achieved a lot with this collaboration.
Some of those who survived. I was supposed to, after that speech, formally declare this meeting open. Accordingly, I do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And you always have a lot of wisdom in matters nurturing care. And I know even without the speech, you'd have really highlighted well matters nurturing care. You've been in this space for a very long time, and it's part of your DNA now. Sometimes back, I told you, if you woken up in the middle of the night to talk about nurturing care, you'll speak about it so eloquently, because it has been part and parcel of your life and this partnership. So we thank you so much, Daktari, for having graced this occasion and ensure that this session has been opened officially, both online and also physically. This particular point, allow me to introduce our other moderators. We are 3 of us. So we had Stella Mbugwa starting us off. Then I came in as Abelo Ward. I didn't mention my name. And then we have our third moderator, Esther Okello, who will join in later after the session that I'm going to introduce right now. So at this particular point, I'm also requesting both the online team and also the people present here that in case you have any questions, please write it down. We'll have a session for the Q&A. Please, the online team, you can also write them on the chat, and some of it will be responded as we continue with this session. So don't hold up. Please write any concerning matter, any remarks, any comments that you'd want to share. Please be free to share that. So allow me to welcome Stella this particular time to take it over. And as she does that, tea is just served out here outside the door. So we need to have a working tea. So we'll get out in tables just to pick some tea and come back in the room and have a working tea as we introduce the next speaker that is going to address us this morning. So thank you so much, and karibu sana Stella.
Thank you so much, Abella. It's been a very fascinating session. We've had case studies, we've had a lot about what is happening, and we are working towards moving children from just surviving to thriving and reaching their full potential together. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, all protocols observed, peace and well-being. We have another session where we speak about the role of civil society organization in ECD financing and budgeting. And we are going to have Mr. Joshua Osimba from World Vision International. And I will briefly introduce him. Welcome, Mr. Joshua Oseko. He is a public policy specialist with 11 years experience in public, private, and the development sectors, and is currently working with World Vision Kenya as a policy and advocacy advisor. So go ahead, Mr. Joshua Oseko. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. Proceed, please.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much, and thank you, the Secretariat for LREB, for organizing for this particular engagement on investment for children, and especially on ECD. The professor talked about the issues on sustainability, on financing, and what we are bringing on board as CSOs is about, currently we're experiencing what we call diminishing fiscal space, both in the development world and the government. And as CSOs, in the past, we have been engaging in terms of development, provision of services for the ECD, that's wash equipment, building of schools. We have provided for health and nutrition programming, but that space has diminished. And the big question comes today, what comes forward? And as CSOs, we have also what we call the sustainability issue that is also part of what we are thinking about. And as collectively what we do in communities, we are doing what we call advocacy, either at community level and at national level. So basically, apart from implementation of the programs in terms of ECD provision of what I've just talked about, the CSOs, we are doing what we call advocacy, and specifically for World Vision, we are doing advocacy at community level, whereby we are able to talk to the communities on what are the issues that are affecting them and also affecting the well-being of the children in their communities. We have been able to disseminate the policies, the strategies, and the plans from the government to be able to acclimatize the communities on what they are able to advocate for themselves from the government, either at the national level and the county level. So basically, that's what we do. And in communities, sorry, I'm not going to use what you're projecting. Sorry. Thank you. So in communities, like I said, we have disseminated the policies, which are just commitments from the government. What's the commitment from the government? So the communities are able to advocate and know what are the issues that they are able to get from government. Number one, in terms of budget processes, we've been able to have communities in the area programs or area operation programs where World Vision works. We have also been able to have collaborations with the other stakeholders in provision in ECD fraternity on how we are able to bring the citizens understand what are the roles of citizens, what are the roles of the service providers, and what are the roles of the government. So we have been able to do that, and basically in terms of budget advocacy, we have engaged in dissemination of budget documents, the budget policy on how we are able, the communities are able to engage with county governments in terms of budgeting, what they need to understand in terms of resources, the budget document, the county integrated development plans, the annual development plans, and basically the budget themselves as the budget cycle dictates. However, what we have realized in this particular endeavor is that across the counties that we have presence in, and this is not only from World Vision, that there is a weak collaboration or intake of what the communities are proposing for purposes of decision making in terms of an investment for ECD. I'm appealing to the panel or the people who are here that the communities are very important in terms of generation of data because they understand the problems at that particular level, what their issues are, and what are the solutions are in terms of local. For example, in the arid and semi-arid areas whereby we have pastoral communities, whereby there's mobility of people because of the pastoral nature, we are talking about, for example, mobile ECD centers. You find that counties are building schools or ECD centers that the communities are not utilizing optimally or long enough. So what happens in that context? How do the communities come in to engage the county government in terms of what do they need? So as CSOs, we have come in handy. We have been able to engage the county government because we have presence in the county governments that we are operating in, and we have been able to address those issues. In terms of, the communities, we have been able to bring communities to be part of the sector working groups at the county level so that they are able to address the issues of children at that level in terms of what they want to achieve. At the national level, as CSOs, we have also partnered with the national entities. We are talking about the County Assemblies Forum. We're talking about the Council of Governors in terms of trying to achieve for the communities. Because we implement in the communities, how are you bringing the data? We have baseline, because before we go to a community to implement a program as CSOs, there's what we call baseline surveys. These baseline surveys form basis for data. And this data we share with the counties on how the data looks like. For example, if it's nutrition, how does stunted growth look like in your county? How does the ECD network, ECD early years education uptake look like in your county? So the statistics we have been sharing with the counties, and there is intake of the statistics, and it has helped significantly in terms of planning and budgeting. We have also been able to disseminate budgets. What is the reason for dissemination of budgets? Dissemination of budgets helps the communities and the CSOs or the collaboration entities that we are working with to be able to do analysis and also bring the counties into accountability. The reason we are doing this is for the communities themselves to be able to monitor how are services being provided by the county government and what are the gaps. For example, we understand the most glaring financing gap, especially in early childhood education, is about teacher-student ratio or teacher-pupil ratio. Across all the counties that in the Republic, I don't know which one has achieved the ratio as per the guideline. We have the issues of teachers. This issue we have been able to raise from the communities to the highest office of the land in terms of how do we achieve this. We may not have been there, but we are looking at how can we be able to partner in terms of filling this particular gap, because again, we're looking at the transitional rates from pre-primary to primary. There's what we call inequality. When you look at the child who is transitioning from a private institution vis-a-vis to that of a public institution where the ratio of the child ratio is different, there's a likelihood that they may not be able to catch up in the long run in terms of education outcomes. So we are advocating for the teacher ratio pupil to be enhanced. We are advocating for the community health promoters to be enumerated. We also understand there are challenges around that space, because again, they are the primary service providers for the ECD in terms of nutrition. So that's what we are advocating to the counties, and trying to see how we are able to bring the counties on board to disseminate this particular information. We're also engaging in terms on child participation. Children understand their issues better than we all understand. How do children are able to come to the table to have their issues discussed with the duty bearers or the county government or the county governor, for example? We have been able to have our parents through the National Positive Parenting, which I think Prof talked about. We have been able to engage parents to have their children be able to speak out on what are the issues within their spaces that they think should be financed. And through this, we have been able to talk to counties to be able to invest in those particular areas so that children can be able to thrive. However, again, like we have talked about the shrinking space, just like in the national government or the government and the development world, what are the sustainable financing strategies? I understand it's very difficult to have what we call a fund in the education, in the nutrition sector, but in ECD, as researchers in the room, as panelists in the room, and as people who have interest for the child in the room, can we be able to talk about that counties can be able to have what we call the ECD fund? Because if you see, like, if today a county in 2026 is talking about employment of teachers in mass numbers, that means over the last 10 years or 13, 14 years, we have not had teachers. So governors are filling up. So what are the transitional defects of the children who have been transitioned from pre-primary in the previous years? So is it a conversation we can be able to have on the table? So for me, I think that's what we do basically as CSOs. We have been able to basically advocate. So yes, we are implementing, but again, because that space is shrinking, but we still build schools. And when we get grants, we still provide water, we still provide playing equipment, we still provide hospitals. We do vaccination in areas where there is there's high nutrition issues amongst the ECD. And yes, that's what we do. In terms of data generation, sorry, I talked about parents and communities in terms of how do they bring data on the table for purposes of enrollment. Our parents, our community, we are in communities that we're operating in, are a part of what we call the PTAs. They are part of PTAs, and also they are part of what we call the county, the ECD boards in the specific schools. So development and of that data is very useful in terms of planning and budgeting for the county. So as we move forward, it's my plea that county governments can be able to engage with communities more. County governments can be able to collaborate with CSOs more. And also we are able to have sustainable solutions for financing, because the space is shrinking, but the demands are rising because, again, the population is also rising. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joshua Simba, for sharing with us the framework within which CSO and other critical actors are working to ensure that the child not only survives, but thrives and reaches their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone. All protocols observed. We're going to have another session shortly. And I would like to invite Eunice Daritsu Beba, who will take us through a conversation that is very important. The conversation is on moving from governance to investment, building the county level case for early childhood development. I will introduce her briefly. Eunice Daritsu Feba has extensive experience in many areas, a few of which I'll mention: project management specialist, strategic management, coordination, planning, and capacity building. And she is very passionate about partnerships and performance management, which intersects donor coordination, such as under UNICEF programming, human resource and social welfare committee, which she supports. And she has previously worked in sponsorship development for the Eastern and Southern Africa region, and has been in many universities, PAC, DESTA, Kenya Institute of Management, and is also pursuing a PhD in organizational leadership, and is passionate about early childhood development, which is a critical area of ensuring that children's issues are addressed, because they are a very critical population that we cannot ignore. Eunice Feba has worked at the Council of Governors from 2013. So welcome her, Eunice Daritsu Feba. Karibu sana, proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella, and I'll allow that I stand on the protocols that have already been established here today, and I allow that I'll make it light. I will not be too serious. I know that we are sitting amongst professors and doctors, so sometimes it's difficult when you're sitting amongst them. But I'm glad that we are reminded that you are an average of the people you hang around. So profs, CEOs, and everybody in the academia and in the ECD space, I'm sure I'm hanging around the right people. So I'm an average of us put together. But just excited about the conversations that are happening here today around early childhood development. And I know it's a building case that has continued over time. And of course, for those who are stepping into the field, where especially for us who are trying to explore it and asking ourselves, how is the topography like? There are many things that come to the fore. Allow that I begin by just saying from a governance and just from a general devolution policy angle, when you look at the early childhood, the framework that is established, and we're looking at the nurture and care framework, I like speaking on this one specifically because what comes to mind immediately, especially for those who've been in the space, we would think quickly about what a child needs. But I will not look at it only from what a child needs, but then I look at it from a devolved and governance level lens. What does it mean? When I looked at this quickly, one of those things that comes to mind when I think about the natural framework, it's good health. And what does it mean? Health is a devolved function. So I need to be asking then, who needs to provide for me that good health? We're talking about adequate nutrition. Again, devolved, because nutrition goes together with health and agriculture. How are we getting that food available? Okay, responsive caregiving. Again, this is around the caregivers. It's just compounded around how we're enabling the mothers and the parents and the families to take care of the young ones. Again, within the devolved space. Security and safety at that particular age, again, within the family setup, everything they need within that space is available within devolved space. We look at opportunities for early learning, a devolved function. So what does it, for me, in sum, it just tells us the question would be, how are we tapping into the resource available within the devolved space? And is it sufficient? If it's not, then what do we need to do differently in as far as this is concerned? But I'm glad a lot of the things that I was going to speak to have already been highlighted. So I may not dwell on it, and I'll speak more towards then what do we need to do around financing as a family, as an ECD team, because then it's not an individual. If you go alone, you will fail. And is it a civil society fight? No. Is it a governor's fight? No. Is it an academia fight? No. It is our responsibility. So how are we going around it, all of us together? Allow that I begin by a slide that I borrowed from one of my colleagues' presentation from UNICEF, and it baffles me every time I reflect on it. From the census report of 2022, it's our data as Kenya. This is KNBS, and it says that we have 41.3% of our population being children, that is 0 to 17. Yet our investment as a country, both within the county and at the national level, we say we are dealing with the biggest population of youth, who are 31.6%. So then the question begs, do we know what data we have, or whose data is it? Whose is it? Who should then utilize this particular data? If I take children together with the youth, I'll tell you we are at 74 or 75% thereabout. So what does it tell us as a people? We need to invest in those specific populations. Otherwise, we have a red flag ahead of us, because then the question that begs is, who are we investing in? One was that the areas that we're investing in, or when we talk about ECD, we're speaking to devolved in one way or the other than a few components of registration and access to maybe birth certificate and things like that. Those would be at national and the policy topography level, yes. But then the question of service delivery and the population itself, it's actually within the devolved space. How are both levels of government intentionally investing in these populations? A snapshot, and I think Prof, you spoke to this a little bit in as far as investment is concerned. And just again, to note from the analysis that was done last year, and this I borrow from a study that was done by UNICEF together with Bajeti and other teams, is that counties spend about an average of 13.6% on early childhood development. Again, since we have the experts in the room, the question would be 13.6% of what? Annual budget of the nation. What does that mean for us? And then if you split that budget that is within the system, within the control of budget books, 90% is within the national government, 10% is at the county level. So it means a majority of that funding is actually going to not necessarily the early years, but going towards the education years of the children. And then, of course, on average, again, the counties spend an average of $79.5 to $83 per year on a child between 0 to 8 years. Food for thought. Again, we look at the growth, and we will actually build on this. The growth of that budget, you'll actually see the spending over the 3 years. It's grown maybe by up to $3 max over a period of time. 80% of the health expenditure in the books, again, shows that it goes towards ECD, early childhood development, issues of nutrition and things like, not necessarily nutrition directly, but and preventive care. Curative care, not preventive, because I think we're not doing much in as far as preventive is concerned. But again, remember, holistically as a country within counties, at least 30% of the budgets go towards health. So where does it leave the rest? I have highlighted nutrition expenditure because within the budget, it's 1% of the GOK expenditure. I'm not speaking about county expenditure. GOK, this is the government of Kenya expenditure. And then remember, The cost of hunger in this country is 6% of the GDP. So again, economists in the room and experts, I'm hoping we would dig into this and then ask ourselves, so what are we investing in? And we need to look at it against the blueprint of the country and what areas we are saying we're investing in. On early childhood development, early childhood education, counties are investing around 8% of the budget. And remember, this is after a lot of advocacy that has gone into it. And even when we say ECD, what does it mean? Is it going towards the salary, or what goes directly towards the child? I will leave it there, even as and give us room to ponder, even as we proceed into this conversation. And it's a conversation we must have. And allow that I mentioned that I am making this presentation on several assumptions. One, and I'm pegging it heavily on the Constitution of Kenya, that one, the most effective tools that are being used to threaten devolution and undermine its consolidation and undermine the consolidation of the devolution gains actually is refusal to allocate resources. And this is heavily at the national. Are we allocating sufficient resources to county governments to enable them perform their functions and effectively deliver the services? It's a sad story that 16 years after the adoption of the Constitution and 13 years after the first election of devolution, but we still face the serious threats of undermining consolidation. And when I say this, I mean, I would want us to look at it again from ECD lens, but also look at, for example, early childhood education. A function or an area that was heavily, not necessarily within the limelight of budgeting. There was not even in one clear budget in as far as that function is concerned. However, we assume it ought to be done, as in how it's something that we then need to ask ourselves. How do we need to then to approach this from a national level? Because again, like I said, you may make small gains at a county level, which is very good. But how do we then get it as a country? If you look at our policies before and even within the devolved space, within the devolution period, there's been a lot of clawback. And there's need for us to actually say, do we need to actually go back and audit some of the policies and laws that are being established in Kenya today? One of the financial principles that anchor the Constitution of Kenya actually is matching devolution to funds flow, which means funds must match the following function. So when we talk about ECD, we should ask ourselves, if ECD, we can define it and say, is it a function?